So welcome everyone to this session on the inaugural John Hick essay competition that is organized for all UWC school. We call it the inaugural because it's the first time we do it, but we hope to be able to call it the annual John Hick essay competition when it continues next year. So we welcome you all. This is a session for us to present the result of the competition officially. And the background of the competition is that both Paula and I are passionate philosophy teachers, and we want to be able to create any sort of opportunities for students to engage in different arenas of their life in UWC with the help of philosophy. And John Hick was a theologian and philosopher of religion that I admire a lot. So I organized a conference at UWC ASEAN in Norway in 2022 to mark the centenary of John Hick's birth. So it was 100 years since he was born. So I wanted to continue that work, and UWC Dilijan has been really supportive in me doing that, and Paula has and I have been working hard to make this happen. So we are going to discuss a little bit about the competition, the results, and what we can look forward to going forward. The importance of interreligious dialogue and interfaith understanding, I think, cannot be understated. And a UWC school, who is premised, the entire existence of the school is premised on intercultural understanding and living together and working together with students and staff from all over the world. It's like a perfect arena to work with this. And since John Hick was a religious pluralist, or a very famous, perhaps the most famous religious pluralist from philosophy and theology, we are taking inspiration from his work to create arenas for students to discuss these matters with the help of philosophy and theology. So welcome all of you. We are so happy that you are here. We are so happy that you have participated. I would like to thank the leadership team at UWC Dilijan, and of course, Paula, my co-organizer, but also especially the Hick family, the surviving children of John Hick, which is Peter, Mark, and Ellie Hick, who has been supportive of this process all along. And of course, our special guest, Reverend Canon Dr. Alan Race is the full title. Alan is, of course, a famous theologian who has worked many years with interfaith issues and interreligious dialogue, and he has been so supportive of the competition from the beginning, and has also been a part of the reading jury in this entire process. So I think the next agenda item, Paula, is that we read up the names of the semi-finalists, and to make things a little bit clearer, to contextualize a little bit. Semi-finalists were the people who went to the second round of reading. So we had the reading jury, and we all read at first one round, and everyone who came above a certain point went to the second round of reading. So that was the semi-finalists. So well done to all the semi-finalists, and Paula will take over now.
Yes, but before moving on to the next point, always the thank you list is very long, and I think we shouldn't forget to thank the entire reading jury that was also composed by teachers from other UWCs, friends from religious pluralism, and friends of the UWC movement, and also to thank UWC International and the different schools that our participants are coming from. We received 31 essays from 10 different UWC schools, and that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the help of UWC International and all the schools that understood that this was a relevant competition for the entire UWC movement, and they shared, the teachers and the schools shared that with the students. And we were delighted to read all of those essays and to see that that our interest was also shared by the students of the UWC movement. So now I'll be off to sharing the names of our semi-finalists, and I will ask the semi-finalists that are here with us today to turn their cameras on as I name them, and then back off as everyone gets their spotlight. So I will read this in alphabetical order by school. So Atlantic will go first, and we have Benusina from Atlantic. Forgive me for my pronunciation. From ULC Atlantic in Wales. Sophie Witting from ULC Costa Rica. We have 3 of our students from UWC Dilijan. We have Emma Krupp. We have Anna Misina, and they're both with us together today. And we have Costanza Justiniani. We also have Paulina Girse from UWC East Africa. And we have a wonderful cohort of 4 students from Mahindra UWC India. So we have Rahvir Pare, and Rahvir is here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Oshin Pandai. I am probably pronouncing everyone's name wrong. Excuse, forgive me, please. We have Dat Duong Nguyen, and we have An Queen Do. From Red Cross Nordic, we have Pau Jimenez Valero. And from UWC USA, who is here today, we have Rishan Shia. And that is our list of semifinalists, because I accidentally almost said the name of our winner in the list because it's right under that. But we'll have to wait a little bit for that. So we want to once again thank all of you for participating, for taking first of all, for being interested in the competition, for asking wonderful questions before submitting your essays, for taking the time to participate, and also special thanks for the ones who managed to be here with us today. In another kind of setting, we'll be hosting this event in person, and you'll be able to meet each other and interact with each other. But in any case, this wonderful platform allows us to still see each other in this setting and to acknowledge your hard work and congratulate you for this. So we didn't want to miss that opportunity. And we also didn't want to miss the opportunity to share a message with you from the Hick family, from Peter Hick. So yes, Dan, can you take us to that next point?
Yes, of course. So as I mentioned, the Hick family has been really supportive of that, and I know that they appreciate us working with their father's ideas and continuing the important work on interreligious dialogue. So when I asked Peter to give a contribution to this session, he was more than willing. So Tatevik, if you can please play that video.
Thank you, Dan, for inviting me to join you at this year's presentation for the UWC John Hick Essay Competition. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name's Peter Hick. I'm one of John Hick's sons, and I'm really delighted to have been invited to offer my congratulations to the winner, to the semi-finalist, and the honorary mentions for publication from this year's John Hick Essay Competition at UWC. And I would just like to say on behalf of John Hick's family that John Hick was always very interested in the views of young people. He always took the opportunities that he had to listen carefully and to respond seriously to the opinions of young people. Particularly, he was interested in encouraging students to use philosophy and theology to engage with the problems of the modern world, with global issues in the world of concern today. And it's absolutely in the spirit of his work to hopefully inspire some of you to consider his ideas with this essay competition, to engage with the issues that you're studying at UWC. So on behalf of John Hick's family, I would just like to say congratulations to you. I'm delighted that some of you will have your work published, and I think it's a great initiative. So thank you for participating, and congratulations once again.
Okay, so Paula, where are we in the program now?
So now it's time to name our honorary mentions the same way that we did with the semi-finalist. I will first name you as you turn on your cameras. then we turn it back off, and then finally, when we announce the winner, we'll all stay together to discuss and have a bit of a panel conversation. So we want to congratulate Mary Beth O'Driscoll from UWC Adriatic. Mary Beth?
Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Very nice to see you, Mary Beth. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our next honorary mention is Shushan Martirosyan from Mahindra, UWC India.
Could you see me? Yes?
Yes. Hi, Shushan. Thank you so
Hi.
much for joining us today, and congratulations once again. And
Thank you.
also joining from Mahindra, UWC India, we have Dia Fatima Nangeli. Hi, Dia. Thank you again for joining us today. So in a moment, we'll get a chance to discuss with our wonderful honorary mention winners and to learn more about the reflections and what this competition meant for them. But and it's also worth remembering, I think this is something that we didn't mention at the beginning, but all of the honorary mentions will be published in the wonderful journal that Alan Race edits. So thank you once again for receiving the interest from our students, and we really look forward to reading them published. The winner will also be published, and in addition to that, they will receive the prize of 200 British pounds. Am I saying the number correctly, Don? Thank you. So it's time to announce our winner. And Dan, would you like to announce the winner, and then we go on to the discussion?
So, as you can imagine, reading through all the essays and discussing the points and discussing the different qualities of the essays, it took a while, but both Paula and I knew pretty quickly that this was going to be a high-scoring essay, and we are so happy and we are so proud of this student who has now been named the winner of the first of the John Hick essay competitions we organize in the UWC movement. So I would like to say congratulations to Crystal Mesige from UWC Thailand, who has been named the winner of this competition. Could you perhaps turn on your sound as well, so we can talk to you a little bit?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So congratulations, Crystal.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Paula. And thank you, everyone.
So what did you feel? Can you just say, what did you feel when you got to know that you won the first prize?
I must say I was overwhelmed, but then like I had told you before, Dan and Paula, like even if I had not won, like writing this essay just made me think, and like my eyes were open. I was just like, whoa, I was overwhelmed with everything I was finding out. And I'm grateful to have won the prize, but the entire journey of writing the essay to me was a success as well, a bit of a win in its own way. So I'm truly honored to be the winner of this competition, but I'm even more honored to have participated. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. As I said, we are so happy that you participated. If we would have heard Peter Hick's message to everyone who participated, but also to you, Crystal, is that he is convinced that his father, John Hick, would have been really happy about this competition and about the fact that you all are engaging not only with his ideas, but also engaging with the entire issues of interreligious dialogue and interreligious relationships that I think is more important now more than ever. So congratulations again, Crystal, and we will bring you back for some discussion in just a couple of seconds. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we had actually prepared a little bit, just as an ending, or that leads to the ending of this session, a short discussion. So actually, Paula, wasn't the idea that we now invite Crystal back and the honorary mentions into the picture.
Yes.
And
So we heard a bit of Crystal's experience writing this essay, but we really want to hear all of our ordinary mentions and Crystal on their experience of writing this essay, on the recommendations for next year, and also on their perspectives on why is it important? Because we have our own reasons of why we think this is important. Obviously, we organized a competition. If we didn't think it was important, we wouldn't have done this. But it's also very important to hear what the students' view is, why they are interested in this topic, and why they also consider it as a very relevant issue within the UWC context. So I kindly ask now Dia, Shashan, Maribeth, and Crystal to turn their cameras back on. And maybe we can have a short reflection from each of you, starting with what did you learn from participating in the competition? And as we discussed before when we initially talked about this, the learnings are, what we hear from you was very varied. So everything between your personal journey in participating in a new competition, new insight and interreligious understanding. This is not just about the philosophical learning of the competition, but really about everything that came into play. So whoever wants to start, you may unmute yourself and start sharing with us, please.
Okay, I'll just go because I just finished sharing. I just wanted to add on that writing this essay was a journey for me, as I mentioned in my essay, but I grew up in a Christian home, but a very monotheist home and country as a whole. I'm from Uganda, and I was always taught from childhood that there's only one way, and there's only one way to heaven, and Christ and Christianity is the only way. And so writing this essay, just like my eyes were really open to the different ways how religions can interconnect and not only coexist, but also contribute to other religions. And I think I got insight that I would never have gotten if I did not participate in writing this essay, like reading more about John Hick's views and the map analogy that he uses, like different routes to the same place. I was just eye-opened. And I think it's important because a lot of people, like John Hicks said, that to insist on the unique superiority of your faith is to be part of the problem. But then like I said, it's important to know that a lot of people didn't choose the religions they were born into and didn't choose to know what they know. This is what they've been taught, and this is the knowledge they've been given ever since they were young. Therefore, this kind of thing, this kind of essay competition, or this kind of dialogue and unique program is what's important, because we get to experience life from a different view, and we get to know things that are different from what we've been told. And if I had not done this, I don't quite think that my view on religion would be as expanded, and I would be as accepting and more open to doing new things and accepting more religions as I am. So it was, I don't want to stretch, but it was quite life-changing. So I'm grateful. And then advice to future participants is, I think you should be willing to learn. Because when I started the course of writing the essay, like the me at the start and the Crystal at the end of the essay are two completely different people, and my essay took completely different paths that I had intended to, but like I was open, I was fine with that, I accepted this. So I think you should be open to learn. And I think the intention should be to learn, right? Like your intention should be pure. Like if you're open to learn, if you're not open to learning, then the essay won't achieve its purpose. Like it would be futile. I think that going on this journey, embarking on the writing journey, is like you should be open to changing what you thought at first. So that's advice I'd give to any future participants. I don't quite think I've left anything out, but I'm passing the mic to anyone else who would like to speak now.
I can go next, is that okay?
So I spoke about this a little bit on our call last time. But I'm half Irish and half Welsh, but born and raised in Wales. However, my family was impacted very heavily by the troubles in Ireland, my grandpa specifically. And I grew up hearing the trauma that my father and my grandfather experienced. And my father turned so far away from Catholicism, it's like not even real, that he just despises all like religions and thinks that there can be no peace within religions. And that's very much the way that I was raised. And then I moved to a Catholic school because my school in my area closed down and I had to move to a Catholic school. And I like fell in love and I was like, what does he mean? Like, this is amazing. Like, I feel like I found what I've been looking for my whole life, you know, and I felt so connected with my like Irish roots. And it was very conflicting because my family had a very strong viewpoint on like no religion. And then when I like read the email that came through from my deputy head, I was like, let's like read about this, you know, because I've never done philosophy before. I've never sat a philosophy class. However, my tutor, who's like the like my parent in my UWC, he's a philosophy teacher and he talks a lot about philosophy all the time. So I was already very interested. And then I think very similar to you, Crystal, like just learning more about it and sort of understanding why I have these thoughts, why other people have these thoughts. And it was almost like someone was putting into words what I've experienced at this college. And it was almost like a reflection essay. Like I felt like I was journaling in my like diary because I was just talking about how I feel and things that I've experienced. So that would be my advice, to sort of write about your own experiences because that's as like pure and honest as you can be. And those ideas are purely your own and no one can take that away from you. So I think that that's the most important thing that you can do in all things, especially this essay. And then, I mean, the importance of conversations, like especially in this context, the change that it's made in my community, like Adriatic is incredibly small, and the change that I've seen be made between the Cypriot community and particularly the Israelis and Palestinians is incredible. Like at the beginning of the year, the Israelis and Palestinians, zero communication. It was very, very hostile, and the entire school was split between the two, and it was a very toxic environment to be in. And now they're like best friends, like they're practically family, you know. So I think that the way that my like community that I live in here sort of embraces kind of those conversations and the ways that they happen proves sort of everything that we were talking about and everything that I was reading about how like conversations is what makes the change, not conflict. So yeah. Thank you so much, by the way.
I could go next. Yeah. So something that I really digged into very depth while writing my essay is looking at an issue on a very small scale, which I believe often we don't consider doing, especially in the topics like religion or interreligious dialogue. We tend to approach these topics on a very large scale, and I think as a result, we either feel like giving up in these cases because religion is such a vast area of life that we feel like we cannot change anything when we think about it as a whole. Which is why I think it is very important to try to look at it on a smaller scale. So in my essay, I talked about my grandparents. My grandmother is a Christian and my grandfather is a Leninist. And I just reminisced about some instances from my childhood because I was brought up by them, and how I believe they were able to manage a very good harmony between having, like, on a first look, a very opposing and very different views on the world. Still they were able to communicate it and actually come to the same denominator at the end. to the same wishes and the same hopes they had for the future. And also, I think why it is so important to look on a smaller scale is something which I think we also, this is a little bit far-fetched, but I think we also witnessed it during this session when the video started playing and we couldn't hear the sound at first for I think good 10 or 15 seconds. Nobody would speak up about it because we always feel like the whole cannot be in wrong. We always think it's the individuals who are wrong. So I started checking my headphones, my laptop. I thought there is something wrong with that because I wouldn't think that everyone else was also experiencing that. And I think same is with religion or generally any topic. It is very hard for us to reflect upon large groups of people, population, or even the whole society. It's easier for us to reflect upon individual or a couple of individuals, which is why I think this approach is important. And also similar to Crystal, I think despite there being a lot of Leninists and communists in my country due to the Soviet historical background, still it is a very monotheistic country with the vast majority of people being Christians. And there is not much internal inter-religious dialogue happening in my country due to not many religions generally being represented there. So when I came to UWC, it was my first experience of actually having a full-on discussions on this topic, which was very life-changing for me and has left a big mark on my understanding of the world, which is why it was important for me personally to participate in this essay and sort of just reflect upon everything that I've learned, I've heard from my experience. And an advice for future participants or people who would consider participating in future, it is a bit simple, but it is that they should participate, because my instant reaction was also that when you read interreligious essay on philosophy, it seems like something very hard to attain, something that you might feel like you don't know where to approach from, etc. So you might feel afraid to try to attempt writing the essay, but I do feel it is very rewarding to do it. So I really hope that everybody who considers doing it will do it. Thank you.
Usually when I reflect on things like how I have encountered religious conflict, it was very easy to think how I have been a victim to it, or how my community has been in a larger context had experienced it. And with this essay, I sort of really wanted to look at how you learn discrimination as a child, put that not blame, but the responsibility back to me, and how within my community there discrimination still exists, and sort of really acknowledge that you're not an exception to the hatred we learn. So if that exists, how can we then unlearn it? How can we make things better? Yeah, and it was a very vague idea I had before, and in writing the essay, I sort of was really dissecting it and just learning a lot from it.
Thank you so much for all your input, everyone. And I was wondering if we could invite Alan a little bit to just speak a little bit, and just to give you some clue, because I realized I didn't really prepare you for this, but perhaps, Alan, you can just say a little bit briefly about who you are and why you thought that it was important to support this initiative, this competition.
Thanks very much, Dan. But first, want to say that I really, really enjoyed the essays that I read. I only had a small selection as one of the people chosen to do that, but they were very, very kind of thoughtful, I think is probably the word. And that's certainly the case of the finalists and the finalist. Because there's a finalist and finalists with an extra S on there. My own background is that I myself was a student of John Hick. How old was I then? In sort of mid-20s, perhaps. And he was a fine man to talk with. Sometimes, you know, his challenges were very challenging. And I had to go away and sort of read 20 books to find out what he really said. So the things that he said were, I think, more sophisticated than most people give credit for. So, for example, on the whole subject you've been dealing with, you know, there are people who say, well, you know, all the religions are go up the different paths to reach the top of the mountain, that kind of thing. Or they're all the same, really, if you dig down deep enough. Well, some people thought John said that kind of thing, but they were quite wrong about that. He was, as I say, much more sophisticated. So I congratulate you that you got inside a little bit the mind of a sophisticated thinker, philosopher and theologian. And I tell you, he would have been thrilled to sit down and talk with you, because I know he loved the company of students very much and loved kind of discussing various issues with them. He was the kindest, one of the kindest people I've known, and especially kind over people's views and people's thought patterns about something, which for him, you know, was investigated by philosophy, really. So sometimes you find thinkers who are not very kind to their, you know, the person or the group they're talking with, and they get a bit upset. They might shout a bit or just declare someone totally wrong. Well, John was never that kind of person. He did think we ought to be able to sit down, talk with one another clearly, and he was a clear thinker, I think, clearly, and paying as much attention to what the partner in the conversation was saying as you wanted to get your own points across. So I've lived with this whole religious pluralism world for quite some time, and traveled widely in relation to it, and always just enjoyed immensely, as time has gone on, just the variety that the world contains. I mean, a variety of people, but worldviews, you might say, and the conditions in which people live. And you have to sit back and say, what is the meaning of this variety? Practical variety, variety of thought, and so on. It can't be the case, can it, really, that, you know, one person or one group out of everything got it absolutely right? Can it be that? I don't think so. Another favorite thinker of mine was a man called Wilfred Cantwell Smith, and he used to say, well, what we're dealing with here is not just, as it were, religious thought, but whole civilizations, of course, based on religious thought, or with religious thought interwoven in the way people looked at the world. So, you know, the subject is much bigger and broader than, say, comparing beliefs, which is only one aspect of religious life and religious faith. And once you see that the experience of God or transcendence, reality, whatever phrase we want to use, that civilizations put forward, it seems that the question of who can be right and wrong or more superior and so on, you know, just, it seems to me, just drops to one side in the face of the reality of things. And that means what we have to do is listen and seek understanding between. That doesn't mean we have to think everyone who says anything is always right. That's not good either, is it? You know, sometimes I come across people who do say, well, that's just my point of view, and that's that. Well, we've got to do better than that, I think, if we're going to be educated people, if we're going to be philosophers, theologians, and so on. So you're on the right path by winning these prizes and taking part in this competition. It's congratulations to everyone, but the rules of the game are that one person gets the top prize. Actually, I wasn't asked to write an essay for this. I could do with £200, Dan. That would help things in my life right now. So spend it wisely, and Crystal and everyone else. It's very lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much. I will keep that in mind for next competition. It's worth saying that Alan is the chair of the so-called World Congress of Faiths, which is the organization that publishes the journal Interreligious Insight that the winner and the honorary mentions are going to be published in.
Yeah, I look forward to receiving those fairly soon, I hope.
Fairly soon, yes.
And I need a good head and shoulders photograph to accompany it.
That's true.
Okay, so you can't hide in the shadows when you get published.
True.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Alan. I just
Great.
wanted to ask the winner and the honorary mentions, just if any one of you have any sort of, we have already had some reflections on result in your own life and everything. Do you feel that you are a little bit more equipped, perhaps the word is, to engage in these kind of understanding seeking discussions that Alan was talking about? Does anyone want to answer this question? Just unmute yourself and take initiative.
Yeah, I definitely think that, I don't know, I think it's something that I'm definitely trying to work towards. Particularly as I mentioned, those kind of conversations I've never experienced before. And here, sort of figuring out how to get those conversations and then reading about it and hearing about the change that it can forge when you sort of figure it out. It's sort of more encouraging to try and figure it out. And yeah, I mean, I think faith and having conflicts with your faith and like internal conflicts with your faith and not understanding and not knowing what's going on. I think by speaking to other people who may have completely opposing views to you, but sort of have been through a similar thing in your life, I think that's one of the most precious things that I've experienced here. When I was having a bit of issues with my relationship with God, and then one of my friends who believes in a completely different God was having the same issues, I was like, I feel like these conversations are so important and we need to have them more. And I think that this essay's like brought out a different section of my brain that's now constantly turning. So yeah, I definitely think that it has.
Wonderful.
I definitely think I am more equipped, just like Maribeth said, right as I was researching, because I did a bit more research on John Hick and what he says, and different also theories on religion and understanding different religion. And I think that my view on religion as a whole generally drastically shifted, and I definitely think that I'm more open-minded to different views that are not of my own. And I get this understanding now that, because at first it was like Merbert said, it was a lot of internal conflict, because I grew up in a monotheist home and I only knew one God. But then I realized that John Hick does not claim that I should worship every God. It just claims that I should not be afraid to engage in conversation with someone who doesn't share the same faith with me, and I should initiate that dialogue, and I should not feel threatened or by any other faith. And these are conclusions and mindsets that I would not have arrived at if not for writing the essay. So I think this is the last time I speak, and I just wanted to say I'm truly grateful to the entire organizing team of the essay and everyone who participated in the writing and the reading and the entire thought behind it. I think according to me, I think it's safe to say that it accomplished its purpose. So yeah, thank you so much.
I mean, thank you all for your input. I mean, I think Alan probably here echoes of me in everything you're saying, because when I try to describe to Alan what Hick has meant to me in my own journey, it's very similar, I think, to some of the things you're saying. Sort of getting an entrance into these discussions that is different from the perspective that you have been so accustomed to throughout your own life. And I think that is why I think Paula and I initiated this competition. And I must say that, and you have to take this seriously now, that
Yes.
everyone who listens, is that we are really privileged to have gotten to know you through your text and in the interactions with you. And we are so grateful that you actually chose to partake in this. And we are so happy to hear everything you're saying about reflections, about what happens inside you and what happens around you when you have interacted with Hick's ideas.
Thank you.
And ideas. So thank you all so much, Paula. I think that we are getting close to the end of the session. I'm conscious of time zones and everything. People have very different times. Was there anything else that I was supposed to officially mention, Paula? Can you remind me?
I think we've arrived to the end. I think this is a good time to remember that this was the inaugural essay competition, John Hick essay competition, but we hope to make this a yearly competition. So just to share the invitation to join us next year. Also, all of the honorary mention winner, I think many of you are first year, so you're welcome to join us next year as well. But really everyone, all of the UWC students that might have heard of this competition, or the incoming students that are not in UWC yet, but curious about interreligious dialogue, I think it's important to remember that, yes, this opportunity will still be here, and we will be very grateful and happy to receive many more essays next year, and who knows, maybe more initiatives to continue fostering interreligious understanding in EWC.
Thank you all so much.
Excellent.
We'll stop the recording now. Thank you.